The EPOS H6PRO is one of the most unusual headsets I've used because unlike basically every other headset on the market, it wasn't designed with your average gamer in mind. Despite being labelled as premium, the H6PRO isn't the bells and whistles model of EPOS's range. Truth be told, it doesn't really have many interesting features to talk about compared to loads of other headsets. It doesn't have active noise cancelling or customizable lights, it's not even wireless. If you're looking for a headset that boasts the latest tech, at least from an options point of view, then I can safely say that the H6PRO isn't what you're searching for. What it does offer is one of the best listening experiences outside of a pair of headphones. And if you were tossing up whether to purchase a good pair of wired headphones or a gaming headset, then stick around because I think you might be interested in what the H6PRO offers. Also, I've just reviewed EPOS's other premium headset, the H3PRO Hybrid. So in addition to telling you what I love about the H6PRO, I'll also do a bit of a comparison towards the end. The H6PRO sits at the top of EPOS's range when talking about audio quality and comes in two different styles, closed back and open back. Up until this point, I've only ever used closed back headsets, mainly because that's your only choice with a lot of the big players in this space. For listening to music, I much prefer an open back headphone, and when I was presented with the option to try an open back headset, particularly one from EPOS, I jumped at the opportunity. First things first, if you have no idea what the difference between closed back and open back is, then let me explain. Closed back tends to be the more popular design for gaming headsets for a couple of good reasons. Firstly, they provide better noise isolation, both in terms of eliminating ambient noise and also in preventing sound from leaking out of the headset. This means fewer interruptions for you and also anyone around you. Secondly, closed back arguably provides a better experience from a competitive point of view because there are fewer distractions and the narrow soundstage lets you hear other players more clearly. Open back headsets, on the other hand, deliver a much wider soundstage. In other words, they're better at creating a sense of space, or if you prefer, a 3D-like sound quality. When it comes to listening to music or watching TV and movies, my preference has always been for an open back because it gives you a grand sense of scale and a cinematic feeling. The other advantage of an open back design is that they're typically a lot cooler than a closed back, simply because they allow air to pass through them, whereas a closed back traps the air around your ears. This makes open back headsets perfect for long gaming sessions or for use in warmer climates. Okay, hopefully that explains why you might want an open back headset, so let's talk specifically about the H6PRO and what I think it does so well. I briefly touched on the comfort benefits of an open back design, and the H6PRO is no exception. The headband is a soft faux leather and the ear cups are made of foam wrapped in a breathable fabric. It's worth noting that the closed back version uses different materials for the ear cups that don't breathe like these do. The H6PRO is light too, at 309 grams, and overall it has got to be the most wearable headset I've ever used. I can wear these all day and there's never a moment where I feel like I need to take a break. On the left ear cup you have the detachable microphone and the cable input, and on the right you have the volume dial. This is almost identical to the volume dial found on the H3PRO, and just like the H3PRO, it's probably my least favourite thing about the headset. It requires a lot of turning to adjust the volume, which is great for incremental changes, but not fantastic if you need to quickly duck the volume. The audio cable is a high-quality braided cable. It connects to the headset via a 2.5mm connection, and although the end has an indent that helps secure it in place, you should be able to use unofficial cables too. So what's under the hood? The H6PRO has 42mm drivers and a frequency response range of 20Hz to 20kHz, and the microphone has a frequency response range of 100Hz to 10kHz. Being a wired analog headset, there's no battery or charging to worry about. There isn't any software either, which means there also isn't any equalizer settings or any other kind of customization options. If you want the ability to change the EQ levels, EPOS sells the H6PRO bundled with an external sound card, which not only gives you control over the EQ, but also unlocks 7.1 surround sound. They have two types of amps that you can pair this with as well if the aforementioned sound card doesn't do everything that you want. The H6PRO comes in three colours, white, green and black, which is what I have here, and as you can see it's more of a dark blue colour. Aesthetically, these are similar to the H3PRO. The main difference is the mesh on the outside of the ear cups and the microphone design. This mesh allows sound and heat from the headset to escape as well as allowing ambient noise in, which actually does have a benefit that I'll go into in a minute. The microphone is different to the one that's found on the H3PRO Hybrid, and it's what I've recorded this section with. The boom arm is still removable via a magnetic connection, but its design is different and I find it a lot easier to remove while still remaining sturdy when it's connected. It has the standard flip up to mute, flip down to activate, and can be easily repositioned. It has a wider frequency response range than the one found on the H6PRO Hybrid, and while it's not an incredible sounding mic, it's still a decent sounding headset mic. I think it's also worth pointing out that I've recorded this via the PS5 controller, so there's undoubtedly some additional compression affecting the quality. Now, getting back to that additional benefit of an open back design, and this is something that is specific to gaming, is that you can hear your own voice. This eliminates the need to use a side tone to feed input from the microphone back into the headset so that you can hear yourself. While side tone works fine on most headsets that I've tried, I'm always aware of it, so being able to hear your own voice with your own ears is a boon. Okay, so far I've given you the lowdown on the features, comfort, and the microphone, but clearly the most important question here, particularly due to the lack of bells and whistles, is do they sound good? Well, just like the H6PRO Hybrid, these are a neutral sounding headset. If you like your bass and you're not going to use them with either the sound card or amp, then yeah, you probably won't like how these sound. If you're familiar with Sennheiser's range of headphones, and specifically the HD560S, and you like the balanced sound that they produce, then the H6PRO provides a similar listening experience for gaming. Okay, so they don't sound quite as good as the HD560S. That said, the 560S doesn't have a mic and gives you no control over the volume, so it's not well suited for all types of games, particularly online games where voice chat is essential. The H6PRO is significantly more comfortable too. It's heavier for sure, but it has a 2-axis yoke that is more flexible than the 560S. The sound they produce is superb, and this is especially true if you play a lot of open world games or games where sound plays a large role in creating atmosphere. They're an excellent choice to pair with the PS5's 3D audio too. I've enjoyed using them for other types of media as well. I'm not going to hang up my 560Ss anytime soon, but the H6PRO sounds great for listening to music, and if your budget only allows for one headset or headphone, or you just don't want to have different headsets and headphones for different needs, then the H6PRO is a great option. Now, I wanted to quickly touch on the topic of the H6PRO Hybrid versus the H6PRO. I've seen a couple of articles and videos on this topic, so I wanted to add my 2 cents. So, although these headsets look very similar and both come from EPOS, with similar-ish technical specs, that's where the similarities end. They are very different headsets for very different purposes. The H6PRO Hybrid is wireless and has loads of features, whereas the H6PRO is a no-frills wired headset. Its primary purpose is to deliver outstanding audio. If you want things like noise cancelling, Bluetooth, and the ability to manipulate equalizer settings, then get the H6PRO Hybrid. If, however, you're not interested in those features and want something a cut above from an audio standpoint, then the H6PRO is the one to go for. Unlike a lot of other gaming headsets, which seem to be aimed at your average gamer, I think the target audience for the H6PRO, and specifically the open back version, is a lot more focused. This is a headset designed for people who want excellent audio quality and a comfortable listening experience over everything else. They're definitely not a headset you'd want to take to a tournament or other loud places because they don't block out background noise. They're also a poor choice if you use a headset so as not to disturb others around you, because sound leakage is much higher than a closed back headset. This means they're not a great option for traveling, particularly on something like a plane. To get the best experience from the H6PRO, you really need a quiet space. Under these conditions, there's not much that comes close to the sound that they provide. Now, you could make a solid argument for a similar priced pair of headphones over these. I mentioned the Sennheiser HD560S earlier, and at roughly the same price, the 560S does provide a better listening experience. But to be honest, it's probably not one that most people can immediately hear if they can hear it at all. And as I mentioned previously, the H6PRO is more comfortable and better suited for gaming. If you're in the market for a premium gaming headset and sound is your top priority, then I can strongly recommend the EPOS H6PRO open back. They work with anything that has a standard 3.5mm audio connection, they're extremely comfortable, and they sound great for listening to everything, not just games. If you liked this video, drop me a like, or a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos, check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel, but otherwise, thanks for your time.